Here are the answers for the first circle theorems worksheet. So for number 1, I can start from these same 2 points. I get one angle in the centre of the circle, one angle at the edge, so this one must be half of that angle, so it's 44. Same rule here. If I start at R and P, I can go to the edge to make 76, or I can go to the centre, where I must be making twice 76, which will be 152. The angle at the centre has to be double the angle on the edge. Same rule again for 3. The angle at the centre from these 2 points has to be double the angle on the edge, so this one must be 32. Number 4, a different rule this time. If I start from P and R, I can make the angle 32, and I can also make the angle X by starting from the same 2 points. So therefore, the X and the 32 must be the same as each other. Now if I turn that upside down, if I start from S and Q, I can slide along to make the 13 degrees. Starting from the same 2 points, I can also make the Y. So Y and 13 must be the same as each other. Same rule for number 5. If I start from S and Q, I can slide along the lines to make the 41. Going back to the same 2 points, I can slide along to make the X. So the X is 41. Starting from R and P, I can slide along to make the 43, and I can slide along to make the Y, so they must be the same. Well, if I start from the P and the Q, I can slide along to make the R, and starting from the same 2 points, I can slide along to make the X. So that must be 35 as well. Now for the other angles, I've got to spot something slightly different. This is the centre of the circle, so this is a radius and this is a radius, which means that this is an isosceles triangle. So if that's 35, this one must be 35. And the same is true up here. This is a radius and this is a radius, so this is another isosceles triangle. So if that's 35, this one must also be 35. If I start from P and R, I can slide along the lines to make the 29. And going back and starting from the same 2 points, I can slide along to make the X. So the X must be 29. Now if I move around to start from P and S, I can slide along to make 43, and I can go back to the same 2 points and slide along to make Y. So Y must be 43. Same rule again here. If I start from S and Q, I can slide up to make the 26. And if I start from the same 2 points, I can slide up to make the X. So that angle must be 26. Now, looking at this triangle here, I know that these angles must add up to 180. And I've got 26 and 67, so to make them add up to 180, this one has to be 87. And now that I've got that one, that angle comes from P and R. So if I slide along from the same 2 places, P and R, I can get Z, so Z must be 87 as well. First thing I spot here is I've got an isosceles triangle, because that's going to the centre of the circle, so this side is a radius and this side is a radius. So that means that this angle must also be 58. So in this triangle here, the angles have to add up to 180, and I've already used up 58 and another 58, so I must have 64 left over for there. Now we're back to the same rule as questions 1, 2 and 3. If I start from S and Q and go to the centre of the circle, I get 64. If I start from the same 2 points, S and Q, and go to the edge of the circle, I must get half of that, so that's got to be 32. Same question really, but given to you backwards. So if starting from P and R and going to the circle gives me an angle of 31, then going to the centre must give me an angle of 62. This is a radius and this is a radius, so this is an isosceles triangle. If I've already used up 62 degrees, I've got 118 left, and because these are equal, that means that there must be 59 degrees in each one. Actually, a very similar question for the third time here. This angle is 27, and it comes from R and P on the edge of the circle. So if I go back to R and P and go to the centre of the circle, I'll get double that angle, which will make that one 54. Now what else can I see? I can see I've got an isosceles triangle here. So doing them slightly out of order, but that one must be 27. And I can see I've got another isosceles triangle here because there's a radius and there is a radius. If I've already used up 54 degrees, I know that I must have 63 degrees here and another 63 here. Last question. Well, the first thing I spot is W. If I start from S and Q, I can come across to here and make 41. Starting from the same 2 points, I can go across to there and make the W. So W must be 41. If I start from S and Q and go to the edge of the circle, I get 41. If I start from S and Q and go to the centre of the circle, I must get double what I had at the edge. So this one must be 82. The 82 and the Y make up a straight line. So together they must add up to 180. So Y must be 98. R to S is a diameter passing through the centre. That means that this angle has to be 90 degrees. So now if I look at this triangle here, RQS, I can see I've got 41 and 90, which means that for them to all add up to 180, that one must be 49.